Oh, hello class. My name is Christian and I'm the leader of Group 1. We decided to depict Louis Hine, and as you can see right behind me, this is one of his works of art and it's called Girl Spinner. We chose this piece of work because as soon as my group mates and I saw it, we all got emotional and we were just like, hey, why not just depict this piece of work because everything else is boring. So we just chose this and we're going to explain the deeper meaning behind this and depict everything.
Hi, I'm the formal analyst of this photo. Louis Hine's photos was very representational. As you see, there's a girl standing there in the middle of the road looking out of a window, and you can see like vast machinery on one side of her that's overpowering her, that's very much larger than her. And then you see horizontal lines that shows linear perspective and distance. And then there's a blurred out effect, as you see around the photo, that makes you want to focus on the little girl. And then the photo shows like the reason why he did this was because he wanted to show people how harsh environments were in the factories for the little children.
And now to discuss the content or the underlying message in this photograph. The underlying theme here is like oppression and imprisonment, and Hine conveys this theme in several ways. First of which, the subject matter, which is a little girl, is really important. Usually when you think of a little girl or a child, you think of this happy, playful, silly little kid, and here, the subject matter, you have this little girl and she's all solemn, sad, staring out the window in a very adult-like way, and this insinuates that her childhood has been robbed from her. And also her surroundings, the bricks, the corridor, the big window, and just the cold atmosphere convey a sense of imprisonment, along with this big, huge row of just like machinery that kind of fades into the background of the photo with no distinct end is symbolic for just the repetition and the monotony in her everyday life. And finally, even though the color of this photograph is black and white because it's an old photograph, the monochrome color scheme kind of adds to this theme as well, because the fact that the little girl is black and white and her surroundings are black and white make it appear that she's kind of fading into her surroundings and becoming a part of the factory and losing sense of her individuality.
Hey, I'm the sociocultural analyzer for this group, and I'll be telling you about the photographer Louis Hine. He began in the 1900s photographing lower working class Americans and he started photographing them in factories and mills where he encountered child labor. Child labor was where young children were working in factories and mines for little pay and really long hours, and it was just very dangerous because the machine was so much bigger than them. In 1908, the same year that he took the photograph Girl Spinner, he joined the National Child Labor Committee in order to use his photography to help put a stop to child labor, which he did in the 1930s. Hine is now known as a master, one of America's master photographers, and his work is now held at the National Archives. It's really good.
Alright guys, that concludes our depiction of Girl Spinner. I just want to say what I took most from this piece of art is that I learned that art is just not something that you can hang up on a wall and just look at and it'll look nice. Art can be used in much more meaningful ways. For example, this piece of art was used and influenced a very controversial topic back in the days for child labor. Louis Hine had a very strong mindset on child labor and decided to use his art to talk to people, and eventually he ended up playing a major role in changing child labor laws, and that just shows how far art can go in being influential and just not being something pretty to look at.